Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of Let's Build in The Sims 4. Today we're going to be building just a little library. Now I thought about just having this part and the next part included in the same video, but since this build took such a long time, I decided to just, do it by itself. So, first things first, I was trying to get a little... I was trying to be... Sorry, my brain's not working. I was trying to rebuild this one building that I saw, and of course I always start off with getting the shape about right. So, Innsmouth is supposedly based off of this little town in Massachusetts by the name of Newburyport. So there you have this really cool looking library there. And I don't know, I just wanted to try to see if I could rebuild that. Now it's not exactly the same, but I like the way this turned out because there's a lot of... It ended up looking pretty spooky, and I like spooky looking places, and it just fits with everything. Also, I was listening to I always want to say it's The Curious Case, because I think it's Benjamin Button or something, but it's the case of Charles Dexter Ward. That was pretty good. I'm about an hour and a half away from finishing it because it's a little novella or a short novel. But yeah, the whole recording is like 5 hours long. And I'm glad that they have those sorts of things. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, microphone. Sorry about the noise. I moved the littlest bit and oh, well, yeah, I didn't know that you could do that with these buildings. Just put two of them like on top of each other and they kind of blend together. I don't know if that's a feature or if that's just something that happens because of the way that the shapes are. I don't know. So yeah, I really like how this little neighborhood of spooky shops is turning out. I think I'm really getting better at this sort of thing all the time. I spent quite a bit of time on the inside too. It's not as fancy as it potentially could be, because for the most part I'm trying to get a good couple rooms on the lower floor and just more elaborate outside, and kind of leaving the insides, like the top floor is kind of plain, because it's a lot of work to do a whole building that you're not going to use all the time, and especially since these are bigger lots. And I'm really excited about getting started on this challenge. It's been so long. I want to get started eventually. And that can't really happen until all of these things are built. So yeah, a lot of these are just stuck with some... Oh no. That spike isn't centered. I don't know if I had corrected that. Because if I didn't, that's gonna bug me. Oh. No. I really like these big windows from the Romantic Garden pack. They look really cool on an old brick structure like this. And yeah, obviously you can't... you can get pretty close, but sometimes it's not possible to get something to look exactly like another building just because of the limitations of the materials you're provided with. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have, but it's not as many as there are in real life, because in real life there are like infinite amounts of certain things. I also really like the muted red and green together. I think they look really nice because that's obvious that they're complementary colors. Complementary colors tend to do that. Just adding things all around. Setting off these windows with these really nice Victorian columns, or whatever they're called. Can't remember. It's also really nice to have a reference. I can't express how nice that is enough. I think I always make things more interesting when I have something to base it off of. Because, my own imagination must not be very good. And then, you know, after you get done with that, you kind of move from there and you kind of make adjustments to it to get it to where it will work for your purposes, which is something I also really like doing. A lot of times I kind of... that spike is going to annoy me. It's keep annoying me. Sometimes I prefer doing the outsides to the insides. Don't really know why. I don't know, it's with the inside it's pretty much doing all of this but for a single room. I guess it just takes a lot longer to do the interiors. And I don't really want to... Oh, there's Sundance. I mean, I could spend all day on something, and I kind of did spend all day on this, but it would probably take several days to do each and every room justice. So, especially with a building as big as this one. I always make buildings really big and stuff them with teeny tiny rooms. Oh, it doesn't make much sense, does it? Where can I put this spooky tree? You know, you just put some bushes around. Like, the bush wouldn't go there. It just said nope. But yeah, I probably mentioned this in the last episode, but I love watching people like Silverettes build things here on YouTube, and I absolutely love watching other people like TBH Gaming. She's a lot of fun. Go check her channel out. Check that collaboration I did with her out. I don't know if my part's very good, but she did really well with what she had to work with. Anyway, what Silverette would always say is, yeah, I'm working with a reference here. And I'd be like, what? Oh, don't you want to use your imagination? But it's so true. I don't know what it is, but copying other buildings just... I don't know, there's... lot easier to make interesting, at least at this point. I mean, I might be able to do something kind of cool like this one of these days. Yeah, and I'm going back in here, making it again. Just look at how big this building is when you compare it to the rinky-dinky little church next door to it. This is the part where I do the interior. So the things, as I'm currently doing things, I'm doing one of these buildings out here and then another character's house. And the last house, obviously, will be of the protagonist here. And yeah, I was just looking at the different types of desks. What types of desks do I use? This is the frontmost room. It's the one that's facing the street. So this one would probably be the one where they'd have the information desk. So first things first, I just added a bunch of these ceiling lights because they're pretty bright. And I got to work. I guess this is a retail desk, a generic retail desk. It worked as a library desk, so that's why I used it. Yeah, a lot of the upper floors are I kind of set the groundwork on this bottom floor, and then the upper floors are just a bunch of books. I definitely did decorate the floor above this one, but yeah, I don't know if I did the third floor. I know for sure that the last floor is pretty much empty because that's the very top of the tower, and I didn't know what to put there. It's like, what color do I make these desks? Oh, I don't know. Of course I have to put a little restroom in there. One for ladies and one for gents, I guess, even though they're kind of exactly the same, so whichever one's not locked is the one you go into. Bad thing about really tall walls is that if you have one of these wall lights too far up, the light just doesn't reach down, and so it's like dark where you actually need it. Yeah, I think I added a floor lamp in the corner just to offset the darkness a little bit. Making sure that it's not obstructing the door. Adding a little bath towel, and I think I ended up putting a couple of garbage cans in here just to round things off. Apparently it wants garbage cans. Who am I to say no to the omnipotent library requirements? Oh yeah, as for the Charles Dexter Ward book, it's about, well, it's about this young man who discovers, he's interested in his family history. I know this is kind of familiar to a lot of Lovecraft stories. But he spends his time learning about his family history, and then all of a sudden he discovers this one ancestor whose name has been expunged from most records. And nobody ever knew about it until now. And then he kind of ends up in a slow decline into insanity or something. I haven't reached the end of it, so I don't want to give away any spoilers either, but I highly recommend listening to it as an audiobook. Lovecraft is one of those things where I think it's better if somebody else reads it. Don't know why. It's just, I don't know, it's really, really flowery, so having somebody else read it to you is pretty nice. It ends up giving you a headache after so listening to it's a bit easier, especially if you're working on a big project like this. But I love spooky stories. I think they're lots of fun. And here I'm just adding some railings around the staircases because I don't want people to fall off. And those holes in the floor, they just look weird to me. You know, I don't want people going, ah. So, yeah. I eventually get rid of the ceiling lights, the subtle saucers, and go for more wall lights and lamp sort of deal, just because I don't know, I think it's more atmospheric, and even though you have trouble lighting every single corner, and especially the middle, because you know there's no walls in the middle most places. I don't know, it's a lot softer than the overhead ones. Overhead lights are good for convenience, you know. Some of these things, I don't know if people will be able to use them just because of the decorations. And I'm genuinely sorry if you find your sim just going, oh my gosh, I can't walk, something's in the way. And that's the one thing that kind of spoils your really awesome design, is when your sim just does that cannot find path animation. It's gotten a lot better than it used to be. It really has. Still, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult than it should be. A few days ago, I was creating the church over there, and I had my Sims do a gathering of sorts, and I used one of the podiums. I really liked the podium, but unfortunately, unless you placed if the podium had a book sunk into it, so it wouldn't just be a podium. It would look like she's reading from something, actually preaching or something like that. So so it looked really cool having the one thing sunk into another. But then if you have to stop your sim from doing something else, it just goes, oh, I can't find my path, can't use it. It's like, oh. I didn't see any clipping when you were using it. I don't understand. Silly Sims. So a lot of the design in this library is pretty much kind copy-paste in a way, even though I'm not really doing any copying or pasting. It's just variations on a theme, and I think that's alright, because at least everything kind of goes with itself, you know? Has the same kind of feel throughout. I like the little lights all over the place, and I ended up putting some little end tables at the end of each row of bookshelves, just so there would be some extra lighting. So I tried the floor lamps and they looked kind of not right. I also tried this, but then I thought, what if the sim can't get through? What if they get lost because of a stupid light on there? I'm like, don't want to do that. Don't want to do that then. I really wish more jobs in this game you could actually accompany your sim, like with the get to work sort of thing. Like, I think having a sim be a librarian or a painter, or, you know, actually traveling with your sim to school. There's a mod for that. Traveling with your sim to school. I think all of that would be pretty neat. It would also be really cool if your sim could be one of the NPC jobs, like live as a butler, be a cleaning person, just have little assignments like that. Keep everything from going totally wrong at a birthday party. Little gigs like that. Kind of like how they did in The Sims 3 Showtime, where you would get gigs and sometimes people would call you up and say, I need a sing-a-gram, please sing to me so I feel better, and then you would do that. That was pretty cool. I know it's not the most ambitious type of job, but not every job has to be super duper high powered. You can have just a loser sim. Not really a loser, but they used to have that trait, loser. And they could just do some menial tasks, and there wouldn't be much advancement, but it'd be a paycheck. But if that's not possible, I would just really like to see the self-employed thing come in again. And little jobs like saying, you know, people would call up to you with an opportunity, like in The Sims 3, like, hey, my toilet's broken, could you please fix it? And you could do that. I miss those little things. That being said, though, I don't think any of them are really a deal breaker. I think that this game definitely has enough charm, enough going for it, where I don't need to just stomp off and go back to The Sims 3 all the time. Even though every once in a while it's nice. Well, going to be getting towards the end in about 5 minutes, 5-ish minutes, less than that. And a lot of this time was just spent doing finishing touches, types of little things. Adding lights here and there. getting rid of the ceiling lights and putting some nice tables, some nice night tables at the end. Bringing some of the other lighting down because it's a bit tall, it's a bit high. Tried to figure out what type of floor lamp would be the best, and I decided on these ones. They're just kind of cool. And they're from the Vampire expansion pack. So a lot of this isn't as detailed as maybe I would like. If I was going to spend hours and hours and hours doing each room and having little parts, and I would probably just try to make little reading nooks. I know they're already on the time. Maybe got some books around the place, that sort of thing. Put that light back in just temporarily so I could see what I was doing with these bookshelves, and so I could just kind of wedge them in the right way. It would also be really cool to just buy a community lot. I miss that, little things like that, little interactions. Kind of miss them. Although I'm sure that if I went back to The Sims 3 right this second, I would find something that I missed about this game. And just chairs here and there, some lights above some windows, sofas. Gotta have some sofas. And I don't know, even though there's really only 2 floors in this place that are decorated, I really think that what's there is pretty cool for what it is. And there's not really any reason to visit the upper floors, so they're just hanging out there for the potential that I might someday just go, yeah, you know, that needs some more detailing. Or if I ever need a little bit of a break from doing the series, which I might need that. It's funny how that works. Like, right now I just want to play the challenge I had set up, but once I get started, I might, you know, just go, no, I really miss this. And that's about it. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to leave a like or a comment down below, and also check out Curse of Blackmore Manor. It's really, really a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Bye.